I'd like to thank Coach Brian Brown for coming over as a preview for Strasburg first home game at Winter Field against the Yuma Indians. So, Coach Brown, let's first go back. Tough game against Platte Valley. There's some definite positives that I think you can take from it. You played a very good Platte Valley team, but come away with the loss. So, Coach, just overall, how would you assess the play of your team?
Well, I think we did learn a lot about our football team. We did some very good things. When you start kind of breaking down the game and you're looking at what we did offensively, I think between the 20s we were very good. I think once we got in the red zone, we faltered. Defensively, I thought we played a very good football game. We had a couple breakdowns, which when you're playing a team like Platte Valley, you can kind of expect that. But unfortunately, we gave them such a short field. So what we learned, and a big thing about what happened at Platte Valley Friday night, was special teams. Special teams and turnovers, and those are things that are pretty much unforced, and we really have to shore those up. And I put it on myself and our coaching staff. We probably did not spend enough time with special teams, and it obviously showed. So this week we did a lot more work with that, tried to make sure that our personnel was adequate to make sure that we don't have those type of problems again. But overall, we played a good game. I think we played well enough to win the football game. I think if you take away the turnovers again and you take away the special teams issues, some of the special teams, that punter was, man, he was good.
He was excellent. I agree.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it was we watched him in pregame, and we were actually thinking we might be able to run one back on him because he didn't look like he was very good. And, boy, did he take us for a ride because – when you pin us deep when you pin a team at the 4-yard line, that's tough to get out of. And then all of a sudden you turn around and have 2 penalties in a row, even though yardage-wise it didn't really matter. It was at the 4-yard line, so you can't take us back that far. It just takes away momentum. And no matter what, when you start turning penalties, having penalties, and being with your back against the wall, you have zero momentum. So, but with all those things said, we still had a chance to win that football game. We do a few different things. We make a couple plays that we didn't make, and we're right there again. So nobody likes a loss. Right now, my main concern is not so much Platte Valley. My concern now is how do we react from that loss. And so I'm really excited about seeing what we can do this week.
So what kind of positives did you take from the game, though?
Positives were what we kind of thought they would be. I thought our offensive line did a really nice job. And we had a game plan put in place, and we thought that between the tackles, we really thought that we could run the middle of the field, and it showed. We had some large openings in the field, and we were able to move the ball. But the problem is when you all of a sudden look up at the clock and you're still 2 scores down, and you're at the end of the third quarter, you have to open up the offense a little bit. So at that point, I don't think we were quite ready as a football team to go into some of our spread type offense. That has to do with inexperience. That has to do with the lack of experience in our quarterback and our skills. I think our offensive line did a great job run blocking, but I think their pass pro was a little off. But again, our game plan was very good at times, and then once we were down by 2 scores and the clock was running against us, we really had to change the way we were doing things, and we weren't quite prepared for that.
Now, I was listening to an interview with a college coach earlier in the week, and he made the statement that his biggest jump for his team is from week 1 to week 2. Do you agree with that, and how you approach this second week as being we're going to see not an entirely different team, but things are going to be very well refined in just 1 week?
Oh, I absolutely agree. You have to understand when you're talking about an inexperienced football team or players that are, we know have skill, this is the first time they really had that type of game speed. And so now, after 1 week, we feel what it's like to be in a game. We understand the Friday night lights, the crowd, the cheers. But the biggest thing is you understand game speed now. And I think for a couple of our players that just really hadn't had much experience with that, I think coming into week 2, some of the plays that they did not make or some of the I think the butterflies that they had or the hesitancy in some of the things, I think you'll see that go away because now they kind of understand what they're doing and they understand what Friday night is all about.
So in getting ready for Yuma, what do we expect to see from the Yuma Indians?
Yuma is a very good football team. They got a lot of experience. They got a lot of players coming back from last year's football team. Yuma runs a double tight single wing offense. It's one of those smash mouth type football games where they try to put as many people in a small hole and give their ball carrier to the ball and just try to find that opening. Their offensive line is it looks to be very good sized. They're pretty physical. Their quarterback is just he's again we just like we faced in Platte Valley, we have a quarterback that can break the game open. He's a tall, lanky kid. Got a pretty decent arm, though I think they only threw the ball maybe 12 times last year. I think they threw it 4 times in their first game. They're not a pass-first offense by any means, but he is a very good running back, and he gets out in the open. You're not going to catch him. I think he was a track champion and everything else. So what we're going to find from Yuma is a very experienced football team. I think they're a very hungry football team watching them play. There's a lot of expectations, I think, throughout the state on what Yuma will be like. And like I told our boys, we've had a target on our back for many years, and I think this year we had a pretty big target. And with that first loss Friday night, I think that target even got bigger. I think a lot of teams are going to step in and say this might be the year they want to play Strasburg. So we're going to find a very hungry football team, but I think a team that we match up pretty well with. And I think a team that if we do the right things, if we trust our keys, we trust our eyes, I think we'll be pretty successful against them.
So not talking strategy, but looking at your team, what are some of the key things that you're looking for that you need to see out of your team in week number 2?
Consistency on special teams for sure. But what we're looking for is just to be refined. I think when you look back at some of our run plays and some of our running offense, we were pretty dynamic, but we would take plays off. That could be due to conditioning. It could have been due to injury. I know we got a lot of players that play a lot of football. So what we're trying to do is make sure we can maximize the efficiency of our players, and that may mean getting people breaks more than we did before the first game. We might have to rotate a few more players in and out just to keep them a little bit fresher, because it's consistency. When you have 2 or 3 good plays and then you take that play off, that can really affect a football game. It really affects momentum. So I think that's the key we're looking for right now, is just consistency. I think with our pass game, we just need to be a little bit more patient, but yet have a little bit of urgency on our pass routes. When we deliver the football, we just have a little bit more urgency with that, simply because, and again, I think, like we talked about earlier, game speed was huge. I think now with some of our younger players, our skill players, seeing how fast people come at you, that's going to help us a lot come Friday night.
Well, Coach, it's opening night, Winter Field for the 2021 season, and this is my favorite time of year. So best of luck against Yuma, and hope things go well.